Chapter 1. The Rejection. The water glass slipped from my fingers and shattered against the marble floor. I stared at the fragments, crystal catching the candlelight like scattered tears, and felt my grandmother's hand on my shoulder. Her touch was paper-light, trembling with the same anxiety that coiled in my chest. Lyric. Her voice was soft, worn thin by years of hoping. You must compose yourself. Couldn't look at her. If I did, I would see the fear in her eyes, the same fear I'd seen every day since my mother died, the same fear that had followed me through every gala, every formal presentation, every whispered conversation about my future. I bent to retrieve the shards. I'm fine, grandmother. Your hands are shaking. They were. I clenched them into fists and felt my nails bite into my palms. The pain was grounding, anchoring me to this moment, to this room, to the scent of perfume and old magic that permeated the Silver Moon Hall. Through the arched windows, I could see the estate gardens below, hundreds of guests in their finest silks and jewels, moving through the lantern-lit paths like fireflies. Above them, the full moon hung heavy and silver, the same moon that had watched over every bonding ceremony for 1,000 years. Tonight it would watch over mine. Eat something. My grandmother pressed a small plate of pastries into my hands. You haven't touched food since morning. I'm not hungry. You're nervous. I stopped, swallowed hard. I'm terrified. The admission hung between us. I was 24 years old, an Omega of noble birth, and I had spent my entire life preparing for this single night. The Council of Nine would announce my destined mate at midnight. Every eligible alpha in the territory would be present, waiting to see whose mark fate had chosen. And I had spent every night of the past year dreaming of one face in particular. Kaelin Ashford, the heir to the Ashford pack. Tall, dark-haired, with eyes like winter storms and a reputation for ruthless efficiency. I had watched him from across ballrooms for years, had memorized the way he moved through crowds like a blade through silk. He was powerful, brilliant, and utterly untouchable. And I had loved him from afar with the hopeless devotion of a fool. Don't hope too much, Lyric. My grandmother's voice was gentle but firm. Fate doesn't always give us what we want. I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell her about the way Kaelin had looked at me once, at a winter solstice celebration 3 years ago. Just a glance across the dance floor, but there had been something in his eyes, a spark of recognition, of warmth, quickly hidden behind his usual mask of cold composure. But I said nothing. What was the point? Hope was dangerous. Hope had killed my mother when her bond was broken and she withered away from the emptiness of it. I smoothed the silver silk of my gown and turned to face the mirror. My reflection stared back, silver blonde hair pinned in careful waves, amber gold eyes bright with unshed tears. The faint crescent birthmark beneath my left eye a reminder of the old magic that ran through my blood. I was beautiful, they told me, a prize to be won. But I was also terrified of becoming a tool. Lady Valemont. A servant appeared in the doorway, her voice hushed with reverence. The council requests your presence. The ceremony is beginning. My heart stopped, then started again, too fast, too loud. My grandmother kissed my cheek. Remember who you are, Lyric. No matter what happens tonight, remember your worth. I nodded, unable to speak, and followed the servant down the winding staircase. The main hall was breathtaking. 1,000 candles floated overhead, suspended by magic, casting silver light over the assembled guests. Black marble floors reflected the constellations painted on the domed ceiling. At the center of it all stood the Council of Nine, their robes of office heavy with centuries of tradition. And there, in the front row, stood Kaelin. He was magnificent, dressed in black and silver, his dark hair swept back from his angular face, his eyes fixed on the council with an intensity that made my breath catch. Beside him stood his father, Lord Aldrich Ashford, cold and imperious. I felt a flicker of unease. Lyric Valemont, the head of the council, intoned, "Approach." I walked forward on legs that didn't feel like my own. The crowd parted, hundreds of eyes on me, their whispers a constant hum of speculation. You have been of age for 3 years, the council continued. Fate has chosen your path. Do you accept the bond that will be revealed? Yes, I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. The magic began to stir. I felt it in my blood, in my bones, in the very air around me. The old gods were watching, reaching down through the centuries to weave their pattern. The candles flickered. The guests gasped. And then I saw him. Kalen's eyes met mine and the world stopped. He was my mate. He had always been my mate. I could feel it in the bond that snapped into place between us, golden and warm and so achingly right that tears spilled down my cheeks. But his expression was wrong. There was no joy in those winter-gray eyes. No recognition, no warmth. Just a cold, distant mask that chilled me to the bone. Kalen Ashford. The council's voice rang out. Do you accept this bond? Silence. Terrible, suffocating silence. And then Kalen spoke. I reject it. The words hit me like physical blows. I staggered, my hand flying to my chest, where the bond had flared so brightly moments before. Now it was a wound, a gash of pure agony that left me breathless. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. What? Kalen's expression didn't change. I reject the bond. I will not mate with a Valemont. My family's future lies with a more powerful alliance. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Cruel, sharp laughter that cut deeper than the rejection itself. I looked at my grandmother. Her face was pale as death, her eyes filled with a grief I recognized. The same grief she'd worn when my mother wasted away. No, this couldn't be happening. Lyric Valemont, the council said, their voices distant and cold. The bond has been rejected. You are free to. Wait. A new voice cut through the chaos. Riven Blackthorn emerged from the crowd, copper-red hair gleaming, green eyes alight with predatory triumph. He was handsome in a dangerous way, all sharp edges and hidden smiles. I will have him, Riven declared. I propose a bond with Lyric Valemont. Gasps echoed through the hall. The Blackthorn pack was the Ashfords' greatest rival. This was a direct challenge, a public humiliation of the worst kind. And I saw Kalen's mask crack. Just slightly, just enough to reveal a flash of something dark and furious beneath. Lyric. Riven offered his hand, his smile smooth and practiced. Say yes. Give them a story they won't forget. I should have said no. I should have walked away, preserved my dignity, let the pieces of my shattered heart fall where they may. But the bond was still there, still pulsing in my chest like a second heartbeat, still reaching for Kalen even as he rejected me. And the shame of it, the unbearable shame, broke something inside me. Yes, I heard myself say. I accept. The words felt like ash in my mouth, like surrender. Riven's hand closed around mine, cold and possessive. The bond between Kalen and me screamed in protest, refusing to break, refusing to fade. But I forced myself to look at Kalen one last time. There was pain in his eyes now, real pain quickly hidden. Good. I hoped it burned. The ceremony ended in chaos. Riven swept me away before I could speak to my grandmother, before I could process anything, before I could do more than stumble blindly through the crowd of leering guests. What have I done? I whispered, more to myself than to anyone. Riven's grip tightened on my arm. You've saved yourself, he said smoothly. The Valemont name is dead weight, Lyric. With me you'll have power, influence. You'll never be humiliated again. But I wasn't listening, because I could still feel it. The bond. Unbroken, burning, refusing to let go. Kalen had rejected me publicly. He had shattered my heart for all the world to see. But the bond knew the truth. It was still there, and I was terrified of what that meant. Chapter 2. The Unbreakable Bond. 1 week. 7 days of pretending that everything was fine. I stood in my grandmother's garden, my fingers frozen above the piano keys, and tried to remember how to breathe. The notes wouldn't come. Nothing came. Just the same hollow ache in my chest. The same thrumming presence of a bond that refused to die. The old gods were laughing at me. They must have been stringing me along with this terrible, beautiful connection to a man who had publicly destroyed me. I need to break it. I whispered. No answer. Just the rustle of autumn leaves and the distant sound of servants preparing for the bonding ceremony that was supposed to happen today. Today, I was supposed to bond with Riven Blackthorn this evening. My grandmother's house was already decorated for the celebration. The guests had begun to arrive. All I had to do was walk into the temple of the old ones, speak the words, and seal my fate. It would be easy if not for the bond, if not for the way I still dreamed of Kalen. Lyric! Valentine burst through the garden gates, his sharp face flushed with exertion. There you are. You're not dressed. The ceremony is in 3 hours. I know. And you're wearing that? I looked down at my rumpled shirt and worn trousers. I haven't decided if I'm going yet. Valentine froze mid-stride. What do you mean, if you're going? Lyric, you made a public promise. The whole society is watching. If you back out now, then what? My voice came out sharper than I intended. They'll laugh at me? They already did. They'll call me a fool? I've heard worse. Lyric. Don't. Please, Valentine. I can't do this today. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he sat beside me on the piano bench, his shoulder warm against mine. Talk to me, he said softly. What's really going on? I opened my mouth to lie, to make something up, anything to hide the shame of what I was feeling. But the truth spilled out instead. I can still feel him. My voice cracked. The bond, it didn't break. Every night I lie awake and I feel him there, on the other side of the city, just as miserable as I am. And I hate him, Valentine. I hate him for what he did. But I can't. I can't let him go. Valentine's eyes widened. The bond didn't break? That's impossible. Everyone knows rejection dissolves the bond. Everyone is wrong. A servant appeared at the garden entrance, her face pale with distress. Lord Valemont? There's a visitor. He insists on seeing you. My heart seized. Who? He said his name is Kalen Ashford. Valentine was on his feet instantly. You can't see him. Lyric, after everything he's done. But I was already moving, my traitorous feet carrying me toward the house before my brain could catch up. I found Kalen in the foyer. He looked terrible. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and the perfect composure I'd always admired was gone, replaced by something raw and desperate. His black hair was disheveled, his jaw tight with barely suppressed emotion. Lyric. My name on his lips was like a prayer. I need to speak with you. Here to humiliate me again? The words came out cold, but my hands were shaking. I didn't think you'd come all the way to my grandmother's house for that. Please. He stepped closer, and I forced myself not to retreat. The bond. It won't break. I tried. I did everything I was supposed to do, and it won't let go. Then you're as trapped as I am. I was surprised at how steady my voice sounded, how calm, when inside I was screaming. Congratulations, Kalen. You're stuck with a broken Omega you didn't want. Don't. His voice cracked. Don't pretend this is what you want. I saw your face that night. I saw how badly I hurt you. You saw. I laughed, bitter and sharp. You saw and you did it anyway. You chose politics over me. I had no choice. There's always a choice. He threatened to destroy your family. The words exploded out of him, raw and anguished. My father. He told me if I bonded with you, he'd expose Valemont's financial ruin. He'd take your grandmother's house. He'd make you both destitute, at the mercy of anyone who wanted to use you. I did what I had to do to protect you, Lyric. Even if it meant destroying myself. I stared at him. The truth settled over me like a shroud. Lord Aldrich Ashford had done this. He'd orchestrated the public rejection, forced his son to break my heart, all to secure a more politically advantageous match. And I had believed, God, I had believed. I thought you didn't want me. I heard myself say. The words were small, broken. I thought I was just another obligation you were trying to escape. You were never an obligation. Kalen's voice was barely a whisper. You were the reason I woke up every morning. The reason I fought my father's schemes. The reason I... He stopped, swallowed hard. The reason I fell in love with you, he finished. Even when I knew I couldn't have you. The silence stretched between us. Somewhere in the house, I could hear servants preparing for the ceremony, their footsteps a hollow counterpoint to the pounding of my heart. Riven, I said suddenly. The ceremony is tonight. Kalen flinched. I know. I can't go through with it. I should have called it off the moment I accepted. I was just so angry, so humiliated. I couldn't think clearly. I pressed my hands to my face. But now everyone expects. Don't bond with him. Kalen's hands closed around my wrists, gentle but firm. I'll fix this. I'll find a way to break the bond. Or prove to the council that it was coerced or what? What can you possibly do? I can fight for you. His eyes met mine, winter-gray blazing with emotion. I should have done it before. I should have found another way. I was a coward, Lyric. But I'm not going to be a coward anymore. The bond pulsed in my chest, warm and insistent, and I felt what he was feeling. Fear, desperation, and beneath it all, a love so fierce it took my breath away. Kalen, I started, but I didn't know what to say. It was never supposed to be like this, he said. I was supposed to be the strong one, the one who could protect you. And instead I destroyed the only thing that ever mattered. You didn't destroy it. I reached up, my fingers brushing against his cheek. It's still here. Can't you feel it? His eyes closed, and a shudder ran through him. Always, every second of every day. It's driving me mad. Good, I said softly. Then we're both mad. A crash from the kitchen broke the spell. Servants shouting, something breaking, the chaos of preparation for a wedding that should never happen. Kalen stepped back, his expression hardening into familiar composure. I need to go. I'll come up with a plan. I'll find a way to fix this. And if you can't? He met my eyes. Then I'll find a way to destroy the man who's trying to take you from me. Riven doesn't love you, Lyric. He wants your bloodline, your claim to power, the influence your family still holds. He'll use you and discard you the moment you're no longer useful. I know. The admission was bitter. I've always known. Then why? Because I was hurting. Because I wanted to hurt you back. Because I didn't know what else to do. Kalen looked at me for a long moment. Then he pressed his forehead to mine, a gesture so intimate it made my breath catch. I'll make this right, he promised. Whatever it takes. And then he was gone. I stood in the empty foyer, my heart racing, the bond thrumming in my chest like a second heartbeat. The ceremony was still scheduled for tonight, but everything had changed. Chapter 3. The Center of Power. The bonding ceremony never happened. Riven was furious when I called it off. I could still hear his voice in my head, cold and venomous, as he'd stood in my grandmother's parlor and demanded an explanation I refused to give. You're making a mistake, he'd said. The Ashford heir humiliated you. He rejected you in front of everyone. And now you're going to throw away your chance at power because of what? A misplaced sense of dignity? Go to hell, Riven. My defiance had felt good in the moment. But now, 3 weeks later, sitting in the council chambers and watching the elite of supernatural society whisper behind their hands, I wasn't so sure. The bond was still there, still burning, still refusing to let me go. And Kalen was nowhere to be found. The Valemont Omega, someone whispered behind me. Can't bond with anyone, did you hear? The rejection should have broken it. But the old magic is stubborn. A curse, more likely. His mother had the same problem, didn't she? Died of heartbreak after her bond was broken. Nonsense. It's a ploy for sympathy. He's trying to trap the Ashford heir. I kept my expression serene, my back straight, my hands folded in my lap. I'd learned long ago that showing weakness only made the vultures circle closer. But inside, I was crumbling. Lyric. Valentine appeared at my side, his eyes sharp with concern. You shouldn't be here. The council meeting is in an hour, and everyone's already gossiping about you. Let them gossip. I forced a smile. I have nothing to hide. You have everything to hide, and you know it. Kalen still isn't responding to any of my messages. No one's seen him since the night he came to your house. I know. His father is saying Kalen has fled, abandoned his position, left the pack in chaos. His father is a liar. Valentine sighed. Lyric, you can't keep defending him. If Kalen really wanted to fix this, he does. He told me he would. People say a lot of things when they're desperate. The words stung, but they were also true. I hadn't heard from Kalen in 3 weeks. Hadn't seen him, hadn't felt the bond surge with anything but a distant, muffled pain. It was like he'd vanished from the world entirely. And I was left here, caught between two packs, the center of a power struggle I'd never asked for. Riven had been relentless in his campaign against me. He'd spread rumors about my family's financial ruin, my grandmother's failing health, my mother's tragic fate. Every day, a new scandal, a new accusation, a new attempt to force me back into his arms. And every day, my grandmother grew weaker. The council is convening to discuss your situation, Valentine said quietly. They're going to decide what to do with you. I know. Lyric, if they declare you unfit to bond, then I'll be exiled. Or worse. I met his eyes. I've already thought of it. I've already prepared. The doors to the council chamber swung open, and the head of the council, Lord Theron Grey, stepped forward. His eyes swept the room and landed on me. Lyric Valemont, he said, his voice carrying through the sudden silence. The council requests your presence. I rose. My legs felt unsteady, but I forced myself to walk forward, to meet his gaze, to hold my head high even as the entire room whispered and pointed. Inside the chamber, the Council of 9 sat in judgment. Lord Grey at the head, the other 8 arrayed around him like a court of ancient kings. Lyric Valemont, Lord Grey began, you have been brought before us to address the matter of your bond. The bond is intact, I said. I don't know why, but it refuses to break. And you have refused to bond with Riven Blackthorn. I have. Because you still believe yourself bound to Kalen Ashford? Yes. A murmur ran through the assembled council. Lord Grey raised a hand for silence. The laws are clear, he said. A rejected bond dissolves. That is the natural order. If your bond remains unbroken, it suggests one of two things. Either the rejection was not genuine, or the bond itself is irregular. Irregular, I repeated. Some bonds are forged by more than fate. Some bonds are made by choice, by love, by a connection so deep that even the old gods cannot break it. My heart seized. You're saying. I'm saying nothing. Lord Grey's expression was unreadable. I'm asking you to consider the possibility that the bond cannot be broken because it was never meant to be broken. The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. I thought of Kalen, thought of the way he'd looked at me that night, so desperate and broken. Thought of the bond that pulsed in my chest even now, warm and alive and achingly full of something I was too afraid to name. Love, I whispered. Lord Grey inclined his head. Perhaps. The council deliberated for what felt like hours. I sat in the antechamber, Valentine's hand on my shoulder, my grandmother's prayers echoing in my memory. And then the doors opened again, and I was summoned back inside. The council has reached a decision, Lord Grey announced. The bond between Lyric Valemont and Kalen Ashford will be examined by the temple's high priests. If it is found to be genuine and unbreakable, the council will recognize it as valid, despite the public rejection. A collective gasp from the assembled crowd. However, Lord Grey continued, if the bond is found to be false or manipulated, Lyric Valemont will be charged with deception and exiled from all pack territories. The room spun around me. I couldn't breathe, couldn't speak, could only stare at the council and wonder how my life had come to this. It doesn't matter, I heard myself say. Kalen's gone. He vanished weeks ago. No one knows where he is. Lord Grey's expression shifted, something almost like sympathy flickering in his eyes. Is he? He asked quietly. Are you so certain? And then I felt it. A surge through the bond so powerful it made me gasp. Pain and fear and desperation. But beneath it all, a fierce, burning love. And then I heard his voice. Lyric. Kalen. The doors to the council chamber burst open, and he was there, bloodied, bruised, his fine clothes torn and filthy, but alive. So beautifully, impossibly alive. Kalen. The word escaped me like a breath. He crossed the room in 3 strides and fell to his knees before the council. His head bowed. I am here to testify, he said, his voice raw. To tell the truth about what happened. To prove that I never stopped loving him, even when I was forced to say otherwise. Lord Grey's eyebrows rose. And where have you been, Ashford? Hiding. Kalen's jaw tightened. From my father. From the people who would use me. From everyone who wanted to keep me away from the man I love. Couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Could only stare at him. At the man who had broken my heart and was now trying desperately to put it back together. Kalen. The high priest, an ancient Omega with eyes like molten gold, stepped forward. Do you swear on the old gods that your rejection was coerced? I swear it. And do you swear that the bond between you and Lyric Valemont is genuine? A pause. Then Kalen looked up, his eyes finding mine. I swear, he said softly, that I have loved him since the first moment I saw him, and I will love him until the world ends. The bond flared. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something other than pain. Hope. Chapter 4. The midpoint twist. Kalen's testimony changed everything. The council, after hours of deliberation, declared the bond unbreakable. The coercion was acknowledged, the public rejection invalidated, and Riven's claim to me was officially rejected. But freedom came with a price. Your father, I said hours later, as we walked through the shadowed gardens of the council estate. What happened to him? Kalen's expression darkened. He's been arrested. The council is investigating his role in the coercion. If they find enough evidence, he'll lose his seat, his position, everything he's built. And you, me, he laughed, bitter and hollow. I'm the heir to a crumbling empire. My pack is in chaos. My father is disgraced. And the one thing I wanted, he stopped, turned to face me. You, I'm still here. Are you? He reached for my hand, his fingers warm against mine. After everything I put you through, can you honestly tell me you still want this? I looked down at our joined hands. The bond pulsed between us, warm and steady, a constant reminder of the connection we couldn't break. I spent weeks hating you, I admitted. Weeks wishing I could tear you out of my heart. But I couldn't. I can't. And I don't think I want to. Lyric. Kalen. I don't know if I can trust you. I don't know if I can forgive you. But I know I can't let you go. I met his eyes. Does that make sense? He pulled me into his arms. It makes perfect sense, he whispered against my hair. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. Not yet. I'm just asking for a chance to earn it. I wanted to believe him. I wanted so badly to believe that this was the start of something new, something real. But I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching. Riven was still out there. He'd lost his claim to me, but he hadn't lost his ambition. And ambition in a man like him was a dangerous thing. You should sleep, Kalen said. The council meeting reconvenes tomorrow. I don't think I can. My mind is racing too fast. I'll stay with you. A pause. If you want. I should have said no. I should have maintained some distance, some dignity, some semblance of control. Instead, I said yes. The night was sleepless. Kalen lay beside me on the narrow cot in the council's guest quarters, his body warm against my back. The bond thrummed between us, a constant reminder of how close we'd come to losing everything. I listened to his breathing, steady and slow, and tried to silence the doubt that whispered at the edges of my mind. He'd hurt me, humiliated me, broken my heart in front of everyone I knew. But he'd also come back. He'd fought for me, risked everything. And when I saw him kneeling before the council, his voice raw with desperation, I'd known the truth. This wasn't just about politics or power. This was love. I can feel you thinking, Kalen murmured, his voice thick with sleep. What's wrong? Everything. I turned to face him, Riven isn't going to give up. He's already started spreading rumors about my family, about my grandmother, about my mother. I know. His arm tightened around me. I'm working on it. I have allies in the council, people who owe my family favors. It's just going to take time. Time is something I don't have. My grandmother is sick, Kaylin, and I don't think she's going to survive much longer. The admission hung in the air between us. Lyric, don't. I pressed a hand to his lips. Don't give me empty promises. I don't want to hear that everything will be okay. Just hold me. He held me. All night, he held me. His arms wrapped tight around my shaking body. And in the morning, everything changed. Valentine burst into the room at dawn, his face pale as death. Lyric, he gasped. It's your grandmother. She collapsed during the night. They've taken her to the healer's wing. I was out of bed before he finished speaking. She was dying. I could feel it even from across the council estate. The bond between us, blood and love, not magic, was flickering like a dying candle flame. Grandmother. I knelt beside her bed, taking her cold hand in mine. Please, don't leave me. Lyric. Her voice was barely a whisper. My dear boy, you've been so strong. Stay with me, please. I can't. She smiled, weak and fading. But I need to tell you something. Something important. Grandmother. The bond. Her grip tightened. It doesn't break because it was never meant to break. Your mother, she thought the bond with your father was broken. But it wasn't. It was just buried, hidden. And when he died, it killed her. I stared at her. What? Kaylin. She turned her gaze to where he stood in the doorway, his face drawn with worry. Take care of him. Don't let the world break him like it broke my daughter. And Lyric. Her eyes found mine. Trust him. Love him. Don't make the same mistakes I did. Grandmother, I don't understand. But she was gone. The light faded from her eyes, and the bond between us, the final thread of my family, snapped. I screamed. Kaylin caught me as I fell, his arms wrapped around me, his voice murmuring words I couldn't hear. But even through the pain, I felt the truth of what she'd said. The bond between Kaylin and me was different. It was older, deeper, more powerful than any bond in existence. And now I knew why. It had been forged before we were born. A promise made by our ancestors, a debt of blood and magic that had been waiting centuries to be fulfilled. And now that the truth was out, everyone would want a piece of it. Riven appeared at my grandmother's funeral. He was all false sympathy and sharp smiles, his green eyes glittering with satisfaction. My condolences, he murmured, taking my hand. Your grandmother was a remarkable woman. Get away from me. Now, is that any way to treat a guest? He leaned closer. I know about the bond, Lyric. I know it's not just fate binding you to Kaylin. I know it's ancient magic that could be used to control the entire council. And I know that if I can't have you, no one can. Are you threatening me? I'm promising you. His smile widened. You'll be mine, Lyric. One way or another, you'll be mine. He released my hand and walked away, leaving me shaking with fury. That night, Kaylin found me in the garden, my fingers bleeding from where I'd torn at the earth. Lyric. He knelt beside me, his hands covering mine. What happened? Riven knows. I couldn't stop shaking. He knows about the bond. He knows it's ancient magic. And he's going to use it to destroy us. Kaylin's expression hardened. Then we have to destroy him first. How? He has allies everywhere. He's been building his power for years. Because he's been controlling the narrative. But what if we took that away? What do you mean? Kaylin met my eyes, his gaze fierce and determined. We make a public declaration. We tell the world the truth, that the bond is genuine, that it's ancient and powerful, and that anyone who tries to use it will face consequences. And then he took a breath. We make a proposal to the council. We offer to share the bond's power with them. Use it to strengthen the entire supernatural world, not just ourselves. I stared at him. You would give up your claim to that kind of power? I would give up anything for you. He cupped my face in his hands. Lyric, I've already lost everything once. I'm not going to lose you too. I kissed him. Right there, in the middle of the moonlit garden, with the scent of flowers and grief in the air. I kissed him with everything I had. And the bond blazed in response, brighter than ever. I love you, I whispered against his lips. Despite everything. Despite what you did, what I did, what the world tried to do to us. I love you, Kalen Ashford. His arms tightened around me. And I love you, Lyric Valemont. More than anything. More than power. More than life. We were going to survive this. Together. Chapter 5. Everything falls apart. The public declaration was a disaster. We'd planned it for weeks. The venue, the speeches, the careful orchestration of allies and supporters. Kalen had worked tirelessly, calling in favors, negotiating with council members, preparing for the moment when we would finally reveal the truth. But Riven was faster. On the morning of the declaration, the council was flooded with evidence of our conspiracy. Forged documents, manipulated testimonies, witnesses who swore they'd heard Kalen plotting to use the bond's power for his own gain. Kalen Ashford, Lord Grey announced, his expression grim. You are hereby charged with treason against the council. You are to be taken into custody pending trial. No, I stepped forward, my heart pounding. This is a lie. Riven is behind this. He's trying to destroy us. I'm sure you believe that, Lyric Valemont. Riven's voice cut through the crowd. He emerged from the shadows, all false sympathy and sharp triumph. But you've been deceived. Kalen's been using you from the start. That's not true, isn't it? Riven held up a document. Here's a signed confession from Kalen's own father, detailing the scheme, the public rejection, the broken bond, the effort to turn you into a political tool. It's all here. Lord Grey examined the document. His expression darkened. This appears genuine. Because it's not. I turned to Kalen, desperate. Tell them it's a lie. Kalen's face was pale, his eyes distant. I can't, he said quietly. The document, it's my father's handwriting. It's his confession. And some of it is true. What? I did what I was told. I rejected you to protect my pack. To protect you. But the plan was always to find a way to have both, the Alliance and you. I just didn't know how. The room spun. Kalen, no. I'm not saying this to hurt you. He reached for me, but I stepped back. I'm telling you the truth because you deserve to know it. Yes, I loved you. Yes, I wanted you. But I was also playing a game. And I lost. Lost? Kalen, you destroyed everything. I know. His voice cracked. I know, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to make it up to you. But right now, I need you to trust me. Please. Couldn't. The bond was still there, still burning, but it felt different now. Tainted. Wrong. Lyric. Valentine appeared at my side, his hand on my arm. We need to go. Now. Where? Away. Before this gets worse. I looked at Kalen one last time. He was still reaching for me, his eyes full of pain and regret. But I couldn't see him anymore. I couldn't see anything but the lie. Take me away, I told Valentine. Please, I can't stay here. We left the council chambers to the sound of Kalen's name being spoken in anger, in accusation, in triumph. I didn't look back. I spent the next 3 days in a haze of grief and anger. The council had seized the Valemont estate. All of our possessions, our heirlooms, our memories, gone. I had nothing left except the clothes on my back and Valentine's stubborn refusal to leave my side. Lyric, you need to eat. I'm not hungry. You haven't eaten in 3 days. You can't keep this up. I don't care. Valentine threw his hands up in frustration. Fine. You want to waste away? Go ahead. But Kalen is out there fighting for you. And you're in here feeling sorry for yourself. I looked up at him. What? Kalen was arrested. He's in council custody. But he's been sending messages, trying to prove his innocence. He hasn't given up, Lyric. Even when you turned your back on him. The bond pulsed in my chest, and I felt a surge of something I hadn't felt in days. Hope. I need to see him. That's the first sensible thing you've said in a week. The council prison was cold and dark, the air thick with the scent of old magic and desperation. Kalen was in a cell at the end of the corridor, his face gaunt, his eyes sunken. But he still looked at me the same way he always had, like I was the only thing in the world that mattered. Lyric. His voice was hoarse. You came. Did you mean it? I asked. When you told me about the plan, about wanting to have both, did you mean it? He was silent for a long moment. I meant the part about being trapped, he said finally. About trying to protect you. But I also meant the part about loving you. That was never a lie. Then why didn't you tell me? Because I was scared. He reached through the bars, his fingers brushing against mine. I was scared you'd see me for what I really am. A man who's willing to do terrible things for the people he loves. And I was right, wasn't I? You did see it. And it was too much. I wanted to deny it. But I couldn't. I'm still here, I said instead. That has to count for something. Only if you let it. I didn't know what to say to that. I didn't know what to do with this tangled mess of love and hurt and hope. But I knew I wasn't ready to let him go. I'll find a way to prove your innocence, I said. Just hold on. Kalen smiled, weak and tired. I've been holding on for years. A few more weeks won't kill me. The bond pulsed between us, warm and steady, a lifeline in the darkness. I held on. Chapter 6. Fighting Back. I found the truth in my grandmother's private journals. They were hidden in the false bottom of her traveling chest, the one she'd taken everywhere, the one I'd almost thrown away in my grief. You were right, I murmured, running my fingers over the faded ink. The bond is ancient. It was forged by our ancestors, a promise to unite the packs. And it can only be broken by... I stopped. The next words were burned into the page, written in blood that had long since dried. The bond can only be broken by the death of the one who forged it. My blood turned to ice. Kalen was the one who'd forged it. Somewhere in his bloodline, an ancestor had made the promise. And if we wanted the bond to break, he would have to die. Valentine. I ran through the council estate, clutching the journal. I need to see the council. Immediately. What happened? Lyric. What did you find? Just get them. And get Lord Grey. I need to speak with them all. The council chamber was packed. Every member of the council was present, along with Riven, who watched me with barely concealed triumph. Lyric Valemont, Lord Grey said. You've requested this emergency meeting. What is so urgent? I held up the journal. I found evidence of the bond's origin. It's ancient magic, forged by Kalen's ancestor in exchange for a debt, and it can only be broken by the death of the one who forged it. That's Kalen. The room erupted in murmurs. You see, Riven said, his voice sharp. This proves the bond is a relic of the past, not a genuine connection. It should be nullified immediately. No, I said. That's not what it proves at all. What do you mean? I met his eyes. The bond is a promise, a debt, and debts in this world are fulfilled, not broken. Kalen's ancestor pledged his bloodline to protect mine. And I have been waiting, all these years, for someone who would fulfill that promise. You're not making sense. I'm making perfect sense. I turned to the council. The bond isn't the problem. It's the solution. Kalen and I were chosen by fate, by magic, by our ancestors, to bring the packs together. To end the division that's been destroying us. And if you try to break that bond, you'll be rejecting not just us, but the promise that's kept the supernatural world from collapsing. Lord Grey leaned forward. You're saying Kalen Ashford is the key to peace? I'm saying he's a part of it, and that we are stronger together than we are apart. Silence. Then Riven laughed. Beautiful speech, but it changes nothing. The bond is still dangerous, and Kalen is still a traitor. He's not a traitor, I said. He was trying to protect me, to protect his pack. And if you can't see that, then you're the one who's blind. Riven's smile faltered. You're making a mistake. No. You are. I turned to leave, but I felt the bond pulse in my chest. Warm, insistent, and I knew I had to see Kalen. The prison cell was cold, but his eyes were warm. You came back, he said. Of course I did. I knelt beside the bars. I'm not giving up on us. Not ever. Lyric. I know you tried to manipulate the system. I know you made choices that hurt me, but I also know you love me, and that's enough. He reached through the bars, his fingers tangled with mine. I don't deserve you. Maybe not, but you're stuck with me anyway. He laughed, soft and broken. I love you, Lyric Valemont. I've loved you since the first moment I saw you, and I'll love you until the very end. Good. I leaned my forehead against his. Because I'm not going anywhere. Chapter 7. The final confrontation. The council chambers were silent. Lord Grey sat at the head of the table, his expression carefully neutral. The other council members flanked him, their eyes fixed on me. Lyric Valemont, Lord Grey said, you have requested this hearing to present new evidence. I trust it is substantial. It is. I stepped forward. My grandmother's journals contain the truth about the bond. It's an ancient promise, a debt of blood and honor, that has bound our families for centuries. And I propose a solution, which is, Kalen Ashford has been pardoned. The charges against him are false, and they were engineered by Riven Blackthorn to eliminate his rival. Riven's face went pale. That's a lie. Is it? I turned to the council. I have evidence, letters from Riven's own hand, detailing the scheme. His plan was to destroy Kalen's reputation and take control of the bond. He wanted to use it to consolidate his own power. The council murmured. Riven laughed, but it was hollow. This is ridiculous. You have no proof. I have something better than proof. I met his eyes. I have the truth. The truth. Yes. I pulled a letter from my cloak. This is a letter from Kalen's father, confessing to his role in the scheme. He was blackmailed by Riven's family into betraying his own son, and he's willing to testify. Riven's composure cracked. You're lying. I don't lie. I held out the letter to Lord Grey. It's all here. Every detail. Every betrayal. Read it yourself. Lord Grey took the letter. His eyes scanned the page, growing wider with each line. This is remarkable, he said finally. Lord Ashford has indeed confessed, and the evidence suggests Riven Blackthorn was the mastermind. This is ridiculous, Riven spat. You can't believe. I believe the evidence. Lord Grey's voice was cold. Riven Blackthorn, you are under arrest for conspiracy, treason, and attempted murder. The council will determine your punishment at a later date. I watched as Riven was led away, his eyes burning with hatred. It was over. The celebration was smaller than I'd expected. Just a gathering of friends and allies in the Valemont estate, which had been returned to me along with the family's honor. Kalen stood beside me, his arm warm around my waist. You did it, he murmured. You saved us. We saved each other. I turned to face him, the bond pulsing between us like a second heartbeat. Kalen, I said, I love you, not because of the bond, but because you are the bravest, most selfless person I know. And I want to spend the rest of my life proving that. He kissed me. Right there, in front of everyone, he kissed me. And the bond blazed with approval. I love you too, he whispered when he pulled back. Forever. I smiled. Chapter 8. Resolution. 1 year later, I stood on the balcony of the Valemont estate, watching the moonlight paint silver patterns on the garden below. The bond thrummed in my chest, warm and steady, a constant reminder of the man who slept inside. Can't sleep. Kalen appeared behind me, his arms encircling my waist. His bare chest was warm against my back, his breath soft in my hair. Too much on my mind, I admitted. Like what? Like the future. Like us. I turned in his arms. After everything that happened, I still can't quite believe we made it. Believe it. He pressed a kiss to my forehead. We fought for this. We earned it. I smiled. I know. I'm scared. Of what? Of losing you. The words tumbled out. Of losing this. Of waking up one day and realizing it was all a dream. He cupped my face in his hands. It's not a dream, Lyric. This is real. We are real. I know. Then trust it. He smiled. Trust me. Always. I leaned into his kiss, the bond flaring with warmth and love. I love you, Lyric Valemont, he murmured. I love you too, Kaelin Ashford. The moonlight poured over us like silver fire. And the bond, ancient, unbreakable, forged in blood and magic, pulsed with approval. We were finally home. The end.